Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the American Sports Connection. I'm your host, the one and only Joey Railroads. Now, before I get to my special guest for the evening, don't forget to check out our social media pages. You can find them on Facebook.com/American Sports Connection, or on Twitter at ASC Pods, Instagrams at American Sports Connection. You can find our entire catalog on B Plus Player Radio. Best way to find it is on Twitter at B Plus Radio. And don't forget to check out our sponsors over at the Squared Circle Magazine. You can find them on Twitter at TSCM Weekly. Use promo code ASCPOD and you can get 10% off your order. All right. My special guest this evening, you might have seen him in his... Well, actually, he's got his hands on a lot of stuff. CTW Wrestling, Synergy. He's a color commentator for UWA Elite. He just told me stuff and things for CZW. There's probably more I'm forgetting, but he's basically everywhere on the East Coast. Mr. Colin West. Colin, how are you doing, sir?
Oh, those are like the four nicest things anyone has ever said about me. Like, really, this is let's put it this way. I do have my hand on a lot of things. We can't talk about that in polite conversation, but that's something for another time.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Hands on things, Colin West. It's what I do.
Yeah, that you should get like business cards made with that.
Yeah, people would think that I was in porn, though.
Yeah.
Hey, we should call this guy. He puts his hands on things. That's what he does. No, like wrestle things. Oh, yeah, well, we do those too. Whatever.
Yeah, maybe you should put it to hands on wrestling things.
Yeah, I still feel like some people think that's porn.
Well, yeah, because they used to have the, wasn't it like they had the girls that would wrestle like down in like it almost looked like Stu Hart's dungeon for a while. Kind of weird. Stuff.
They used to have that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know why I know that.
There's no way that still goes on.
No, that's not cool anymore.
No, not at all. People don't. Come on now.
It's 2018.
Yeah, people don't look at wrestling weird. No. Ooh, this thing. If we're talking about the Hart Dungeon, this thing just hard left Teddy Hart before it even started. Good God. Oh my Lord.
I'll tell you a quick Teddy story. And you'll know what I mean when I say that. Where Amanda's Bar None used to still be open. They're closed now, which is kind of sad.
Okay.
I went to there after one of the super shows, I think it was, and he had his cat with him at the bar top.
Right.
Which was just one of the weirdest things you could possibly see.
Why is that weird, though?
I don't know.
No, that cat is of legal age.
I know. I've just never seen that before.
Look, I'm telling you right now, that cat at that bar is probably better looking than most of the humans at the bar at what was Amanda's Bar None.
You have a very valid point.
I'll be real with you. Like, put 400 Mr. Moneys at that bar, and I'll hang out at that bar all the time. I would hang out with Mr. Money any day of the week. Fine with it.
Considering some of the people, and I'll never forget this, I went there one night to do something with Preacher for Standalone. And it was the dude that was doing the trivia.
Yeah.
And Preacher goes, I hate that fucking guy. And I said, Preacher, man, it's not really that serious. And he looks at me and he goes, dude, all I have is hate right now.
What do you mean right now? Preacher, all Preacher has is hate.
Well, that's
period.
True, but he really did not like that guy.
Preacher is like the Silky Johnson and the Buck Nasty of professional wrestling. Is just hate. Hate. I hate you. I don't even know you, and I hate your guts.
Well, then I guess I'm on the good side because he seems to tolerate me.
Well, tolerate is about as good as you get.
Well, my kid, when I think it was a couple months ago, I don't remember when, but he wore a Kevin Owens shirt, and I'm talking to Preacher. I say, "Hey, Preach, the kid wants to show you his, one of his favorite wrestlers," and he looks at it, he goes, "Oh," he says, "Yeah, he gave me a concussion once."
That's a lie. He never wrestled Steen. I'm sure he did wrestle Steen. I mean, if it's a story that involves Preacher getting severely injured in a wrestling match, it probably happened.
That's very valid.
You caught me on a really, really shit attitude night, so we're gonna have fun. This is gonna be really fun. I'm gonna burn every bridge that I have right now. But wee!
Oh boy. Now, I see you on social media. You're a big sports guy because you were talking about the Norris Jenkins stuff.
Oh, my God.
That I just saw that broke, which apparently has, one of his family members did this.
Well, we think.
Yeah, that's like the rumor, but I hope he's not pulling another Hernandez.
Man, it makes me miss the days of 48 hours ago when all I had to worry about is who Odell Beckham Jr. was having sex with on a boat. I miss the good old days when all I had to worry about is whether or not Eli Manning actually did make that face on purpose or because he had a condition. I don't know.
Oh my God,
that's my team. Those are my boys. I mean, really, I feel as though it was all downhill once the Eagles won the Super Bowl. It really was. It can only get worse now for the Giants. It can only get worse. We've reached the end of days, and things are going to be terrible. We're going to be back in the Dave Brown, Kent Graham era, I think. Yep, our best player is going to be Jason Sehorn on one leg, like it was for part of the 90s. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a real good time.
Especially with your new head coach. People are like, oh, he might be okay. I'm like, dude, he coached the Browns.
Yeah, he coached the Browns worse than most people coach the Browns.
And that's pretty bad.
Yeah, sure. He's like the Colin West of managers.
Ooh.
What? Colin West is terrible. It's garbage.
Well, it depends on the day.
Yeah, it does depend on the day. Some days he's just shindy. And some days he's worse. We'll see.
Shindy's never a good thing.
No. Sometimes it's a great thing. Sometimes the most enjoyable stuff you'll ever see in your life comes out of it. And I'm loath to use the term because I'm not better than anybody.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's where I'm at. I'm not better than anybody. I had this argument with somebody the other day, and they'll remain nameless because I'm not trying to be that guy. But, I was involved with kind of a rib getting on me and whatever of somebody treating it like Synergy or wherever I was working was oh, somebody famous is going to come there. And I'm like, I know this is a rib. I'm not, I'm crazy. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
But I just don't like the whole impression of people treating places like they're better or worse than other places. If you don't approach every booking that you have with the same level of professionalism, then inevitably when you come back down to earth, which everybody does, unless, you're one of a select 1% of 1%, you have to really make up for shitting on a lot of people. So, plus, I mean, come on, man. You don't know at the end of the day if you have aspirations for big things. You don't know who's watching. You can't just assume that everybody's watching your big matches, or your big bookings. Or I have to assume every time I'm on commentary, every time I'm ringside, every time I'm booking out a show, every time I'm doing something, that everyone is watching.
Yeah, you got to bring your A game.
You do, because you don't know that maybe there's how do I say it? There are shows where you might be in front of 30 people, but you don't know who one of those 30 people might be. Exactly. You don't know. So you got to play it the same. And that's why there's certain guys that I always look at around here that I love that just bring the same game to every show. KTB is one of them. Like
Oh, I love that dude.
I've watched KTB wrestle for 1,200 people, and I've watched KTB wrestle shoot for 4 people. That's a shoot, like for real, for real.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Kyle brought the same everything for 4 people that he did for 1,200, and like that's why I swear up and down by the guy. Like Tremont's the same way. You're going to get the same effort if it's 10 or if it's 10,000. Like there's just guys that you look at and you're like, that guy's a pro. And I don't care what you can do or can't do necessarily. I mean, obviously, if you're good, that helps. But it's all about how you present yourself and that attitude that you have. Like if I hit the curtain, I don't care how many people are on the other side of the curtain. They're getting the same out of me. You know?
Oh, absolutely.
What was the question you asked 14 minutes ago? Because it had nothing to do with that. Rant.
It's all right. Good.
Yeah.
Actually, what I was going to ask you is, because I saw you're a big basketball guy, too.
Oh, right. It was some sports shit. Yeah, that's where we were.
That's all good.
All right.
You're a Knicks guy, right?
Oh, my God. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? You're leading with Janoris Jenkins and the Knicks. Like, it's just all death. Like, everything you're leading with is death and murder. Go ahead. Next question. Go. Did you watch the draft? What did you think of the kid the Knicks took? I'm impressed with the kid. You got to have a certain demeanor to play in New York, and whether or not Knox has the chops, I don't know. But I heard him on a couple interviews. I'm a big 98.7 guy. I listen to ESPN New York a lot of the day. Like they need me to plug them. Shit. But no, Knox impressed me, and Knox was on with Rosenberg in the morning, Rosenberg and Ebro. Yeah. And I heard him twice, and I'm really impressed with him because so many athletes, like, just you ask them how it feels to be drafted, they're like, blessed, man. We blessed. My family. I'm blessed. You know, we just gonna come in and try hard.
The answer.
And it's like, dude, nobody gives a crap about your. Of course, you're blessed. You just made $12 million. You know, like, tell me something that matters. Like, for real though, like, I don't know how many more Weisses and Nilikinas I can suffer through though. Like, for real though, I don't know how many more. Like, did we not bring in, this is going to be another rant, did we not bring in Donnie Walsh in, like, 04 to clear out the salary cap and all the Jerome Jameses of the world and get rid of all the crap?
Yeah.
And so we could go after LeBron or some really good free agents, and then we gave $100 million to Amari Stoudemire's right knee, and he blew it out. And that was it. And then we gave a number 2 guy in Carmelo max contract, and now we wonder why we are where we are. And it's simple. It's just, it does not matter how good the players are if the front office is garbage. Like the Patriots, newsflash, the Patriots don't have the best roster every year. They don't. But they know that shit's going sideways if they go 9-7. You know, there's an expectation there. So, like, the Knicks know whoever is on that squad, who's ever on the bench, knows that they can go 30-52, and they're probably getting an extension. And it doesn't matter because they'll have 6 coaches in 8 years anyway.
Yeah, they're just phoning it in.
Because they can. Because when Melo phones it in, why can't you?
Yeah, right? When he's a superstar. And
it's top down, bro. It's just, that's how it goes.
I've always said, I wish I could, and I'm sure you probably say this too, I could just be like a bench guy, like the guy that never gets in or even on the practice squad and just gets a salary for a couple years. Nah,
that dude has to wake up at 6 a.m. still. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it.
For like $500,000, I would wake up at 6 a.m.
Okay, that's a number. That's a realistic number. I could do that.
Yeah, because I think that's probably around about, or it might be $1 million now because those guys seem to be getting more money even though they're not really.
I will say I knew a kid who was on the Giants practice squad a couple of years ago, and they make nothing. Those dudes on the practice squad make nothing, and they can get cut and re-signed week to week, and that's why they make nothing. Like, let's say that you got to go play the Panthers next week, right?
Uh-huh.
So the good, really good pocket quarterback that's on the practice squad right now gets cut because they need to put up a scramble guy.
Yeah,
they got to put on a guy that can simulate Cam, so they can run against Cam with the first run defense. And then as soon as that week's over, maybe now you're getting ready to play Jimmy G and the Niners. That guy gets cut, and they say, well, just keep our information because we might need you for like week 6 next year.
Jesus.
It is really, really hard to get from the practice squad onto the actual roster. It's damn near impossible.
I believe it.
Yeah. It's really tough. I mean, it's really, really tough if you are the guys that go between round 7 and like that first wave of free agency. You have no idea. I mean, it's really tough. It's really, really tough. I don't envy anybody that's on a practice squad for an NFL team because there is no job security in it.
Yeah, it sounds like super stressful.
Yeah. Like, you don't know week to week if you're going to be, in camp or you're going to be trying to sell root beer floats. And I'm not trying to be rude about selling root beer floats. I'm just saying legit, you have no idea.
You don't know if you're going to have to do a 9 to 5 or, stay on a squad.
Yeah, but every week that you have to go get to a squad, you lose your job. You lose your other job because you got to try to go make the Giants, you know? So you got to hope somebody in your family's got a construction firm or something, or somebody's got you can help out with demo or you can drive a truck for me when you're not on the practice squad.
That's crazy to think about.
And a lot of guys quit. Like, I know this guy ended up not doing it anymore because he just couldn't deal with the grind of not knowing if he was going to be on a roster from week to week.
I could see where that would be very mentally taxing.
Especially for me, because I can barely function in real life.
You could barely function in normal situations.
Oh, yeah, I know, which is why I put myself in crazy abnormal situations all the time, which is why wrestling is such a draw for me. Because I get to create my own, especially booking out Synergy, and kind of putting the show together on the roster and whatever. Because I get to construct reality from the ground up. It's pretty dope.
That does sound fun. Speaking of wrestling, what do you remember as the first thing when you watched wrestling? Wait, what was your first memory of wrestling?
Can I tell you, no one has ever asked me that question? I'm not being sarcastic. No one has ever asked me that question. I'm serious. And I have this story on cap because I can remember the first match I ever saw in my life.
Okay.
I was probably about 9 or 10. And when I was a kid, I was a huge mark for 1966 Batman. They showed the reruns on FX and the old Adam West Batman with the pow, zonk, kablooey, all that nonsense. I loved that. I loved it. Legit, the West in Colin West is for Adam West.
Nice.
That's real. That's 100%. And so one day I flipped over to TBS on a Saturday right after the 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Batman slot was on. Or it was a little bit after. I guess it was in the middle of WCW Saturday Night, and I saw a television title match between Greg the Hammer Valentine and Tom Zenk, the Z-Man. And I was completely hooked on it. I loved everything about it. I loved the big robotic door they came through with the smoke pouring out of it.
Yeah.
And the one guy is a complete douchebag, and the one guy is really, probably not as good of a wrestler, but he's fighting real hard. And I love the whole premise of it.
I'll never forget when you mentioned that. I always call it the spaceship doors.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And what I didn't realize at the time is that 10-year-old Colin was watching the show, and in the background you don't know the names of the guys doing commentary when you're 10. You
Oh,
know what
no.
I'm saying? But I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, like the first voice I ever heard in wrestling was Dusty Rhodes. You know, it was Tony Schiavone and Dusty Rhodes was the team on Saturday night at that point. And I just was like, who's this Southern dude? He's really nice. He seems really nice. He seems like he knows what he's talking about, if you will. And I'm like, so that's my first memories of pro wrestling in terms of watching it on TV. And then I discovered WWF Superstars, the replay show of Monday Night Raw on Saturday morning. And it was a go from there.
People don't remember that they used to have the replay of Monday Night Raw.
I mean, they still do. They still do. If you get up in the morning on a Saturday, they'll have AM Raw or what have you for a while, or they'll have these recap shows, and it's presented totally differently. It's presented with a big splashy kids production, but it's still a recap show.
Yeah, it hooked the kids on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, and I grew up in that golden age, quote unquote, between the late 80s, between the Hogan era and the Attitude Era is when I got in. Like the time where like you could build an entire storyline for 6 weeks about a fake French pirate stealing Bret Hart's leather jacket.
Yeah.
Like that's the moments that I grew up in, and like you could legitimately be like, oh, okay. That guy's evil because he's from Finland. Oh.
Who is a damn madman now?
Yeah, hey.
No, I love PCO. He's a great dude. But my memory, and I don't know if you'll remember this one, I think I was like 6 years, either 6 or 7.
Well, how old are you, Railroads?
I'm 35.
Okay, so we're both 35.
Yeah.
All right, so hit me with this.
It was when Hogan got attacked by Earthquake on the Brother Love show.
I was I wasn't quite there yet.
Yeah, I vividly remember that was the thing that really hooked me.
Yeah.
Because they had him get beat up, and they did which is silly to watch now, and they did the Earthquake Slam or whatever it was called, where he like sat on your chest like however many times, and they carried him off on a stretcher.
Yeah.
And you'll laugh at this. To this day, I still have it. I sent Hulk Hogan a get well card, and they sent out these like generic like thank yous. It has like a picture of him like lifting weights, and it's like a pressed on signature like autograph of his. And on the other side, it's like, oh, thank you for, like, sending me a card. Because of you were, like, the reason I got back in the ring, or some bullshit like that. I still have it somewhere in my house to this day.
No. What if that was real? What if he was too weak to sign his signature, but he meant every word of that?
Yeah.
Nah, it's bullshit. But I remember... You want to talk about crazy, like, segment stuff? I remember freaking out when, like, Papa Shango made the goo come out of Warrior's forehead, and then he threw up all over the guy. I'm like, oh, my God, wrestlers can make people throw up. I'm done. I'm done. Ah.
Yeah, I vividly remember that one, too.
Yeah.
And then... Then my dad actually got tickets to the SummerSlam in Philly.
Got you.
It was Warrior and Rude in the cage.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, a little bit before my time, I got into it, not until I was about 10 years old, but I got into it.
Yeah. Those are one, because I don't usually get very marky, but like when I saw Demolition is going to be at Boardwalk Beatdown, I almost giggled like a little schoolgirl. Now,
I'm going to stop you though. What's wrong with and this is kind of a thing, and I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, like, this is part of what I don't like about wrestling culture right now. What is wrong with being a little marky? Like, there's nothing wrong with it, man. Like there shouldn't be that stigma of you've been watching wrestling for X number of years, so now you should quote unquote know better. No, that sucks, man. That stops you from having fun. You know,
man,
like
at
some point, just say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and suspend belief or disbelief for a little bit. I'm just going to I don't need to be smart about this. This is entertainment. This is not, nobody's going to get their doctorate in breaking down wrestling. Like, it's not, except for maybe Pritchard. But there's no award for being, the most intelligent, knowledgeable insider on either side. And
I agree.
I think that people, inside the business too, get a little too carried away with trying to be too slick and too inside. Like, sometimes a fan that you're appealing to you can't assume that everything's known. Like, everything's out there, because there's some kid who you just killed things for. And I feel like this, I feel like especially in the world of non-WWE, non-New Japan, non-top tier wrestling, and I hate the word independent because it's just such a catch-all, and that's like saying that I don't know. That's like saying that GCW and Ring of Honor and the guy down the block running a family show are all the same thing. They're not.
I know what you mean.
They're not. Like, I think it does a disservice, to places to, and I'm not crapping on anybody. I think that what each of those things is really valid and really great. Great and necessary. Yeah. But I think that, especially for people who are, just running that bingo hall or that VFW or that wherever, don't assume that you can be all inside baseball because some 8-year-old is going to go home and have the you don't want to be the dude that I don't care when you find out about Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. I just don't want to be the dude that tells you.
Yeah, you don't want that burden on you.
Nah, just I'm not going to be that killjoy, man. I'm going to let somebody enjoy this in a pure way for as long as possible.
And I get what you're saying, where they're all kind of lumped together because each one that you just mentioned is kind of like their own animal, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really don't ascribe to this theory that, these guys would be better if they're more like this, or these guys would be I'll just use GCW again, who I, worked for at one time, just because they're the first name that I saw. I'm pretty sure they're doing just fine doing what they're doing. I'm pretty sure they don't need anybody's help, and their fans don't need anybody's help telling them what they should and shouldn't be doing. I'm pretty sure they got shit figured out for themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of them really quick, I have to say something. When I saw and I don't know, I'm assuming you have, the match that they announced last night, I was like, dear God, I'm not like a person that likes driving into the city, but I would consider going into the city to see that.
Look, and that's what's important. We're in an era now where the story or the built-in story of the match that you put together still matters. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. And the people want to know, well, I put all these indie darlings, quote unquote. I put all these names on my show and nobody showed up, because they can see them anywhere. They can sit at home and see them at home. You can see these people anywhere. If you don't give those people a specific reason to see that thing, why do you deserve their money? I'm presuming you're talking about Gage versus Ming, right? Haku?
Yes.
Well, I mean, the story's built in. These are two guys who in two different generations have developed the same reputation. Why don't you want to see that?
Exactly.
And I'm putting over, and they're like, well, you don't even work for them. You work for people who blah, 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 blah. I don't care who I work for and who I don't work for. If somebody's doing something good, I'm going to put it over.
Exactly. I'll give you an example, and I'm not going to name names, but I had a certain person that is in the higher ups at GCW, and he asked me when they were putting the school together. He says, "Hey," he says, "are you going to come to my shows when I start running shows in this building?" I said, "Why wouldn't I?" And he said, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, regardless of what you hear out in social media or what other people tell you, that there's a war between companies, which
God, we're going
which is
here.
stupid, or whatever. I said, as long as you're cool with me, I'm cool with you, and then I'll go to whoever and support whoever. I was like, if you give me a reason not to like you, then I'm not gonna go.
Well, and this is all I'm going to legitimately all I'm going to say about this, because I'm not touching either side of this debate with a 10-foot pole. And it's not because it's no, for real. I'm just going to be like, I'm not scared of it. I don't give a shit. I'm not scared of talking about it. This is legitimately all I have to say about it.
I understand.
People work hard as hell for their money, and they should be able to go wherever the hell they want to go to spend it. And that is the end of the story. I don't care who hates who. I don't care who doesn't hate who. I don't care what's real. I don't care what's not real. I don't care about beef. And the majority of people don't either.
Well, and I always said this, and you'll understand what I mean.
Yeah. Huh?
At the end of the day, I thought the purpose, and this is not just for one company, this is any company, is to make money. You know what I mean?
Yes and no. If you're getting into low level professional wrestling to make money, you should probably find another line of work, because you're going to need a sideline.
Yeah.
You're going to need a sideline. That's just how it goes. But the reason that I started Synergy, and I'm going to desperately paddle this boat over out of that water and into this water, hooray, isn't because I wanted to make a ton of money. It's because we saw a town that deserved having wrestling back, and I had stories I wanted to tell with the talent that I targeted. And I have a little team of like-minded individuals who are wonderful human beings, who I trust in implicitly, and we wanted to bring our brand of what we felt we could offer to a group of people who would appreciate it. I don't need to make $1 million. I don't. I need to make people happy. That's my need in life. Like I'm the type of dude who only enjoys himself if the people around him are happy, and that's real. Like I can be douchey, I can be crappy, I can be miserable sometimes, but for real, if I have $5 million, if I made my living off wrestling and I left this business and people said that I was a shady piece of shit, I don't care. I've done nothing. But if I leave this business not with much more money than I started, but people had a damn good time at my shows, we're good. And I don't care what that makes me sound like, because I don't really care what anybody else assigns to me value-wise. That's how I got to do this.
Right. Well, and at the end of the day, if you're enjoying and loving what you do, then there's no money amount you can put on that.
Trust me, there will come a day where Colin West would like to Scrooge McDuck a pool full of gold coins and jump in. I'm all for it. I am all for the Scrooge McDuck coin bath. I'm for that. I want it in my life. I would like to paddle around in it and slowly drown. And they will say he drowned in his own gold coins. And people will say that dude was a pimp. And from the grave, I will say, well, yeah, I told you I was. But for now, I'm just trying to put on good wrestling shows with a mix of people that everybody's like, oh, I got to see this dude. And people who I really believe in. And I'm like, no, you need to see this guy. You need to see all these people, the people that you know about and some people that you don't.
Then the people you don't know, then you get there and you're like, holy cow, I should have seen this guy before.
Well, look at every place that we look at and we're like, oh man, do you remember when? Look at year 1 and 2 of Ring of Honor. What was so great about early Ring of Honor wasn't the guys you did know. It's the guys that you didn't know that now everybody knows. It's like when you go to a band's first or second show and you're like, shit, I'm jumping on the train before they sell out, or I'm jumping on the train before they blow up. That's who people latch on to, man. Like that's what matters. Like anybody can jump on the Janela train now that he's WWN champion. But if you were the dude that was watching the Zebra Kid and marking out for that dude, like years back, how good do you feel for his success now?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, or another example, when him and Leo Rush were doing dojo wars every week.
Yeah, like I remember 2015, I did commentary at a UWA Elite show, and it was the UWA Elite Tag Team Championship. It was the Rogues versus Sudden Impact. That match was Brandon Kirk and Jeff Cannonball against Patrick Clark and Leo Rush. Fast forward, you've got Brandon Kirk killing it in CZW. You got Jeff Cannonball, who's all over the place. You got Leo Rush on 205 Live, and you got the Velveteen Dream. And those dudes were in a church hall in 2015 at UWA Elite. And those are the moments where you're like, ah, damn, I saw something. And that's cool.
The other one that always comes to mind, too, and Jersey was kind of where, if I remember correctly, he kind of got his ball rolling, was a guy that's got the IWGP heavyweight title now by the name of Kenny Omega back in like 05, 06, I want to say.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm careful about that. Sure, he was the Jersey All-Pro light heavyweight champion, the title that Arcadia has now. I'm careful about that. Like, I don't want to take ownership on anybody's success. No. I wasn't in the business when Omega was in the business. I don't want to speak on where he was or what he was doing. Just like same thing. Like, I'm sure that we're Jersey guys. I'm sure everybody and their mother wants to take credit for Janela. When the only dude that Joey Janela needs to thank for real is Joey Janela. Exactly. And that's the end of that statement. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people who help out, but like, I never got the whole like, oh, I was there when I did this and I did that. And I'm like, well, no. They did it. You were there. Like, it was cool that you were there, but they did it. You know what I'm saying?
He was the one that was grinding and making all the towns and, you know?
Yeah, and those were probably the dudes that were in the back like, yo, he's stupid for that. He ain't never going to make it.
Oh, you're most definitely.
But that's always, I read something that was really cool. It's like, if you're tired of local politics, don't be local. Yeah. And I'm like, man, that's just as easy as expanding your worldview and going to some new places. And that's why, like, doing the drives in 2018 still matters. And I don't do them as often as I should, and I don't get around as often as I should, but I try to watch products. And that's why, like, people are like, yo, how do you know this worker from out in, like, Indiana or Missouri? Or how'd you know who Jake Parnell was? Or how'd you know who Ace Perry was? Or how'd you know who Gary J was? Or this dude or that dude? And it's like, because I'm trying to be worldly, man. I'm trying to know about what's going on outside of my little bubble. Because it's real easy to sit here in the middle of Jersey and say that the Jersey scene is the best.
No,
if you're not watching Dayton, and you're not watching Maine, and you're not watching St. Louis, and you're not watching all these places. Granted, the Jersey scene is still best, and I'll put that title out. I'll put that title out anytime. But if you're not watching these other hotbeds, then what are you doing?
I agree with you, and it's like I always say with this show, you got to find a way to stand out, be different, and try new things, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I want to always have one or two people on a card that aren't from here. That's why the first couple Synergy shows, I made sure that Cam Zagami was down here. I made sure Tyler Nitro was down here. I made sure Josh Briggs got down here. You know, I'm working on having other people come out, like Kevin Bennett's coming down, and some of the crew from Buffalo that are killing it right now. Daniel Garcia, Puff, and Kevin Blackwood are coming down to the Synergy show July 21st. Rex and Willow are coming in from Long Island. I always want to try to get Jake Parnell on a show, want to try to get Ace Austin on a show. Just dudes who are out crushing it and deserve to be seen other places other than where they're from.
No, I agree with you. Here's a question for you. When did you decide you were going to get into business?
My first show was April 2015. It was a charity show for cystic fibrosis. in Bridgewater at the Days Inn. I decided I was going to do that show in November of 2014. As far as getting in the business, I got in the business completely by accident. I went to an independent show. I went to a local show to see two of my buddies wrestle, who I didn't know wrestled. And I kept following that product. And about 6 months later, I asked the promoter if I could use my radio background and try to do some commentary and do some podcasting for them. And from there, I just decided that I wanted to do more and I wanted to know more. So I started hanging out at the shows and I started, watching how production was done. And I started asking if I could sit in on meetings. And occasionally, I would do a ring setup or a breakdown or whatever. And I'm not saying I paid anywhere near the dues that the boys paid, but I made sure that I at least paid some so I didn't feel like a fraud,
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I just kind of grew and expanded, and I went to other shows, and I saw guys on other shows, and I talked to them, and I wanted to know where they were from and how they were, and I just networked out from there.
That's you've been quite a lot of places in a short amount of time.
I don't want to give myself too much credit there, because for every show or every promotion or every place that I've worked, there's a dude out there who has worked twice as many. I'm not going to sit here and put myself over when I can put over somebody else. If somebody wants to say that I've done a lot of stuff or I've done anything that's worth a damn, that's cool. But I'd much rather sit here and say that Jordan Oliver is going to be the shit. And I'd much rather sit here and say...
Oh, I agree with that.
I mean, I'd much rather sit here and say that I wish that more people had the attitude of Jake Parnell. And I wish that more people had the desire of Anthony Green. And I wish that more people... You know what I'm saying? I wish more people were as generous with their time as a Bob Evans. And just... There's all sorts of people. I wish that everybody was as charismatic as Danny DeMonto or Matt Tremont. I wish that, everybody was so committed to in-ring perfection as, like a Zachary Wentz or a KTB or I could just, I don't believe that putting other people over is weak or it's kissing ass. It's just, why are we not doing that? Why are we not talking about how hard other people are working? Why are we not talking about the best things that other people are bringing to this business?
I agree with you, and all the people you named, they're killing it all over. I think, and I've said this to other people, I think Jordan Oliver is going to be an amazing talent for many years to come.
The only ceiling that Jordan has is Jordan. Yep. Jordan is gonna. It's about patience, man. I remember being 19 years old, and I remember not having something by the time that I was 19 years and 2 months old, and thinking that I was a failure and a fraud. And it's really hard to sit there at 19 and be like, you know what? It might take 6 years of this grind, 7 years, 8 years, but goals are different now. The business is different now, and you can. And you can't really tell anybody what the end game is, because everybody's end game is different. Like, I know there are guys out there who want to be in WWE. I know there are guys out there who just want to be in Ring of Honor. I know guys who just want to be on a Beyond show or a PWG show. I know guys who just want to get a tour of Japan one time or the UK. And there's nothing wrong with any of those goals, because there's, as small as it seems to be getting at the top, like with WWE taking over so much, it's not getting any smaller, because all they're doing is globalizing the end game. And I mean, if that's not where your end game is, Mexico's dope, Germany's dope now, Canada, Japan, Ring of Honor, you can go anywhere you want to go and do anything that you want to do if you want it bad enough.
Look at the UK scene.
I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. And
like you said, if you want it bad enough and you want to work, all you got to do is work hard.
Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, I like putting this out in the atmosphere, because I don't want people to sleep on us. I don't want people to sleep on Synergy. I don't want people to misinterpret what I want from this. I don't want to be another place. I don't want to be that guy down the block. I don't want to compete locally. I have aspirations. I have goals. I have very specific goals in mind. And I think I'm dumb in a lot of ways, but I'm wise enough to know that the only way that I'm getting to those places is by listening to other people. That's why every show that we do has an aspect that is votable, that is interactive, that is based on what the crowd wants. Because how else am I going to know what people want to see than if I just ask them? And I think that's what's missing from wrestling right now is there's so many products out there where guys or girls or whoever is running these shows think they know better or are always trying to be one up and, we're going to swerve some people. Just ask people what they want and then give it to them. Like, that's not hard.
Oh, I agree with you. That's not the hard concept.
Like, it's like if a dude down the street is dead sure that he's making the best shit sandwiches on the planet. That's cool, but you're still making shit sandwiches. Like, stop making those. Yeah. It doesn't matter if that's what you want to make. Other people don't want that. That's a shit sandwich. You know, just ask people what they want, and then when they tell you, do everything that you can to over-deliver and give it to them. That's it.
It's not that hard.
But it is, because you got to leave your ego at the door.
No, I agree.
You gotta stop thinking that you're going to be the person that reinvents and changes the business and you're the way that knows better. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because you're not. But if you want to be the person that changes the business, be a fan. That's how you change the business. Mm-hmm. You tell people what you want, and eventually someone will be smart enough to give it to you. That's it.
Simple enough. Now you're talking about Synergy. How did you basically coming up with Synergy? How did that all come about?
It's a bunch of bullshit. It's a bunch of random bullshit. The backstory is a bunch of random BS, and we're gonna skip that, and we're gonna go right to actually creating the damn thing. It's the folks from Funkenstein Wrestling Superstore, Dan and Heather, and myself, and it's when you find out that you're a couple of like-minded individuals. It's when you find out that you've met some people that think the same way about something that you do. And it really started with a similar conversation that they were at a show, vending a show, and they heard a group of fans saying that, man, the people on this show are really good. I just wish that the people who ran the show would listen to us. And we're like, well, we could do that. We could absolutely do that. And we realized that going into a town like Manville was going to take some repairing. It was going to take some, because there's towns that for whatever reason feel burned by things. And it's not my business why, and it's not my business how. They just do. So it was a slow burn, but we took our time with this, and we started talking about Synergy about 18 months before it happened, to the point where some of my buddies who are now part of the product, it was like a running gag, like, oh yeah, next month, what's going on? You going to do that Synergy show? And be like, shut up. Maybe. But when we were ready, September 2017, we pulled the trigger on it, and we have not looked back.
Well, that's interesting, man. I mean, it's always nice to find people that share your vision, you know?
Yeah, and it's funny because our shared vision was not about being so, like I said, caught up in our own vision or our own view. We knew the guys that we wanted to utilize for the most part, but we made sure that before the thing launched, we talked to people in the area, and we talked to people who buy tickets and people who are lifers and are at all these shows and we see everywhere. And we asked a bunch of people, hey, who should we be looking at? And that's how about a quarter of our roster made it on the initial roster. Because it's got to be done that way. Things have to be done that way. Otherwise, you are giving, like, if there's one thing that I think is really clogging wrestling right now, it's redundancy. And I'm not saying that people who want to run a show shouldn't run a show, or people who want to run a promotion shouldn't run a promotion. I'm just saying, why are 40% of wrestling promotions the exact same product as anywhere else? Using almost all the same guys, telling almost all the same stories, not doing anything different, and calling it a day. There's nothing that makes your brand your brand. Why are you doing this? And more power to you. Do your thing. But we didn't want to do what everybody else is doing.
No, like, I'll give you an example. Like, how many times do you need to see, two guys wrestle when they've wrestled almost up and down the East Coast? You know what I mean?
If it's the right two guys, forever.
Right,
forever.
But you know what I mean.
Like, I'm all for a good feud. I'm all for dragging that out and dragging it out across promotions and across state lines. What I'm saying is not so much wrestler A and wrestler B, but going to see the same show with just different pieces in it.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason to go see just another show that's doing things exactly the same way and exactly the same time, because what makes that show different than the one down the street? Just the guy looks a little different?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you look at shows that provide something different. Shows that provide, like just randomly throwing out, like, where the hell else are you going to see interspecies wrestling? Where else are you going to see ISW? Anywhere? That's why people give a crap about that promotion. Where else are you going to go see Chikara? Besides Chikara? Where else are you going to go see these special places that are unique to themselves? And that's why I'm like, these are the places where I'm always really intrigued what's going on. Like what Drew developed up at Beyond is so copied now.
Oh God, yeah.
Copied to death.
Where, people don't sit in chairs and, the whole deal.
Yeah, down to, just the whole, just everything, down to how they first started releasing matches, like Look Ma, No Fans and everything like that. Like, being friends with Corvus like I am, I'm pretty, well-versed in the background of it. And all the dudes who came up through it, and just, it's done to death now. And there's a reason why Beyond is still the most relevant of all of them, because they did it first and they did it better.
I was going to say, they were the originators of it.
So I'm trying to do things first, and some of them are going to suck and some of them are not going to work. But the ones that do work, they're going to be synergy things, and they're going to stay synergy things. Well, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but it's as simple as, like, everybody who's pre-ordering a ticket up until like 3 weeks before the show, I'm giving them a list of 4 matches on the show, and I'm saying, which one is going to be for the number 1 contendership?
Yeah.
And now you're going to tell me which match you want. Like that. It's as easy as that. Or which match should close the show, or which match is this, or or which 2 guys should fight each other. There's going to be a future show where we walk into the building and 4 guys don't know who they're going to work that night. And we're going to bring them out to the ring at the beginning of the show. And I'm going to grab a random guy or girl from the audience and say, pair these guys off.
I like it.
Why not? Why not? Like, why should I tell you? Why should I dictate at every single show what makes me so special that I should make every match and make every... You do it. It's your show too. You're coming. You're paying money. In my mind, you're a stockholder. You should have a stake.
I agree with you.
That's nice. I'm glad you do.
Yeah. Now, tell me about Synergy's next show that's coming up in July.
Yeah, Synergy's next show, Gold Standard, is Saturday, July the 21st at Manville VFW in Manville, New Jersey. The doors are going to open at 4 p.m. for a meet and greet, which is free with your ticket to the show. We don't believe in draining people for extra money. That's not who we are. We want to say thank you. This meet and greet is us saying thank you before you give us anything, before you give us your business or your money. We want to say thank you before you even do that. So WWE Hall of Famers, Tito Santana, Nikolai Volkov will be there. Samu of the Anoa'i family will be there, and his son Lance. Matt Stryker from WWE and Lucha Underground. I don't know what's going to go on with Mike Orlando because I know he just had work done on his knee. But we have some wrestlers that are going to be playing video games over the Nerdport Network table. American Sports Connection, Pimp That, sponsoring Kit Osborne will be there. KTB, Stevie Shields. So many people. Damage 365 is involved. Wrestling IQ 101 is involved. Capital Wrestling is bringing wrestlers. I think UWA is going to bring some wrestlers. It's just, I have a laundry list and I'm going to forget people, and I'm sorry because that's how my brain works. And then I'm super proud of the card we put together for 7 o'clock, which is the main show. KTB and Matt Tremont wrestle in the finals of our tournament to determine the first ever Synergy Pro Wrestling champion. Stevie Shields takes on Matt Stryker. Frightmare versus Lance Anoa'i versus Sonny Kiss versus Kevin Bennett in a Fab 4 Invitational. Mixed tag team match. I could go through the whole card, but I mean, I'm just trying to give people what they want. You know, and there's certain things that if I'm running in Manville and it's the Manville VFW, then I should call Chris Dickinson and see what he's doing, and he'll be there to wrestle Brandon Kirk because that's something people wanted to see.
I'm very excited for that.
So am I, because the last time you really got a chance to see it, Kirk was a tag team specialist and a very different wrestler. And Dickinson's only gotten better with time, as evidenced by what he's doing right now in his career. So I want to see these dudes. I want to see these dudes hit each other really hard. They're gonna say, "Hey, Colin, what do you want out of this?" I'm just gonna say, hit each other really hard, really freaking hard.
All right, Colin, before we get out of here,
Yup.
how can people contact you on social media if they want to get a hold of you or get a hold of Synergy?
I'm usually at the mall food court around 3:30 in the afternoon. If you want to come. That's a different thing. Okay, never mind. So we'll do this. You can visit us at synergywrestling.com. If you don't know how to spell synergy, pass any X on. They've got it all over their frickin' signage. Cool. That was a weird coincidence. Synergywrestling.com. Or you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Synergy Wrestle. You can also email us at synergywrestling@gmail.com. All ticket information, match information, card information, show information, past show results, roster members, anything you could possibly want is at synergywrestling.com.
Well, there you have it. That's easy enough. And to be completely honest with you, I had to fire up the Google machine the first time to learn how to spell it.
Oh, that's totally fine. I mean, I'm a genius businessman who names his business something that's really hard to spell and impossible to chant in a crowd. Yeah, I'm a frickin' genius. Really, I'm smarter than the room. This is ridiculous. Whatever. But I love Synergy. I'm so excited to give away this championship. It was made by Andrew and the people over at Wildcat Belts. We sure put down enough on it, and it was worth every penny. It is the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen.
Well, and those guys, they make some serious high-quality stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But on that note, we're going to get out of here for tonight. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, give it a thumbs up, all that stuff. And we'll see you back next time. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.